Hello, broadcasting live from the Atlanta Beltline in Atlanta. I'm Ed, this is Laura.
Hello.
And all the way around the globe, we have Sanjay Gudwani. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What time is it there?
It's 4 a.m. So if you needed proof that I'm excited about retail and technology in retail, this is it.
That's awesome. Thanks for getting up way early and joining us in this live webinar. So this is obviously our retail innovation radar, the 4 things shoppers really want from in-store tech this holiday season. Very excited to have to bring you this. This is obviously the second in our quarterly innovation radar reports. So we do a ton of research on technologies and customer experience as it relates to retail. And we thought, our clients and our prospects oftentimes really want some unbiased thoughts on some of these technologies. So that's why we developed the radar.
And it's not just because it's cool, it's because it's something that we think is realistic for shopper needs, for trends that are happening. And because we know kind of operationally what some of these things can require, we just felt it's really important for someone to have a view that says, hey folks, this is what we need to move on, and here's some things you might want to just keep your eye on.
Yeah, so I'm Ed King, I'm co-founder of HighStreet. My background is everything from brand strategy to campaigns to social media to brand planning. We developed this, we founded this company a little over a year and a half ago, and we're focused on really transforming what it is to have in-store retail experiences.
But doesn't mean we haven't been in these trenches for decades.
Right.
Laura Davis-Taylor here, and I started in big agency and went through the ranks of online media and marketing, store design, and got into digital signage in 2000 and saw this opportunity. Why are we not bringing some of these amazing technologies into the store and kind of bridging things, but not for tech, but for experiences? So it's really exciting to see where we are as a retail industry now, where our narratives are quickly moving into, hey, how can I be using technology to make the store better? How can I stand apart uniquely? So that's really what we're here to talk about. And also why we're so excited to have Sanjay, because we needed that global point of view. Sanjay?
Yeah, so I started and sold, I come from a retail practitioner background. So I started and sold Australia's largest party supplies and Halloween business. And I've worked with some big brands internationally like Harrods and Prada in Europe. And so I bring an Asian and European, Australian perspective, obviously having done some work in the Americas as well. So, I'm excited about the radar. I think it's a really practical and pragmatic report that retailers can actually use in store. So it's an exciting thing to be a part of.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks again for waking up so early. So this Retail Innovation Radar report, like we said, this is the second one that's going to come out. And it's full of interesting perspectives and new technologies and stories of retailers who are using different technologies in store, if it's working, if it's not. It's really more about shopper adoption of these technologies rather than the shiny object of the technology. We consider ourselves consultant practitioners, so we get in the trenches with these things, and we're very familiar with many of these founders and the technology and what it does, but really we're most interested in, does it light up the brain of that shopper?
Yeah, at heart, we're really a bunch of shopper anthropologists.
Yeah.
We're really serving them, but that's the view we need for this stuff.
Yeah. So what you're about to see is a sneak peek of the report. So the report itself is going to come out early next week. You're going to see a little bit of, kind of peek under the hood of some of the things that are going to be published in that report. And let's just kind of get right to it. So this is what the report functions as, right, is this radar. So let's explain what this radar is real quickly. So there's these dots on the radar, and each dot represents a couple of different things. The size of the dot, how big or small the dot is, represents its impact on retail. And where it is placed on the radar represents the shopper adoption, propensity for a shopper to actually use the technology in the store. So for instance, if it's close to the middle, that means it's a mainstream technology that's going to be expected in retail. If it's more toward the edge, it's kind of on the edge, it's innovative, and it's not quite there, but it's maybe showing some promise. And it's a measure of 12 different in-store technologies.
And because we do it quarterly, we're able to track when new movement hits that no one saw coming that we need to take notice on. And we'll call out a couple of those in this presentation today.
Yep.
So the numbers don't lie, right? 61% of global holiday shoppers last year felt let down by their online shopping experience. And, that was particularly during the holiday season. So that figure's up from 47% in 2017 and 41% in 2016. So I think the high line there is that there's never been a time when it's better for brick and mortar. Online shopping is getting more frustrating. And we're seeing that in the statistics among millennials, who we often hear about are shopping online more and more. They will go public about their poor experience, and they complain in an online review or a social media post more often than their older counterparts.
Sanjay, I think I fat-fingered this slide. So I'm going to go back one slide. Maybe I did. Okay, maybe I did. There we go. Thought I did.
Well, a good point. And Sanjay, as having owned a retail brand, retail store fleet, don't we all really want to love our holiday shopping experience? And that's kind of what's sad about this. When you go back to, as old people, when you really go out and you want to go with your family and your friends and go find perfect things and have hot chocolate and touch things and really put some thought into it. None of us really want to just go online and order something and be done with it. So this is really important time to really think like a CX designer with these technologies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really a great time for shoppers. What you're talking about, Laura, is that there's rising expectations. And so that's why today I think we're not just talking about technology. We're talking about the experience. We're looking at human behaviors and expectations, really the brain science, and saying, what used to work is the best definition of success. And so that's why I love this quote on this slide.
Then there's this one.
So Selfridges is a retail icon. Harry Selfridge from the US moved to the UK, and I mentioned that I worked at one of their largest competitors, Harrods, for some time. They are looked to within Europe and around the retail world as setting certain trends. Their Christmas windows are something that the media and the press often cover and will be in the 6 p.m. news that night. So this was their window last year for Christmas. And it's a really interesting thing to see that, holiday sales are expected to rock. In 2017, holiday sales rose 4.9%, which was the largest year-over-year increase since 2011. According to Deloitte's 2018 holiday sales are going to rise between 5 and 5.6% from last year. So, holidays are often seen as the key indicator of retail health, and I think it's a good sign when you're looking at the numbers. And big and successful and old retailers like Selfridges are very excited about those numbers.
So let's jump into the 4 trends. So the first one is giving you my money should be easy. And again, we kind of break this down into as simple terms as possible. But really, when it comes down to it, we're all shoppers. We all hate waiting in line. And there are all kinds of technologies and all kinds of retailers that are looking to remove that friction. Obviously, Amazon Go is a big one here in the US, but there's really tons of different technologies that are emerging around the world. We're going to touch on a couple of those. But let's talk about this trend for a minute. So giving you my money should be easy. It's driven by impatience. Every day, shoppers' expectations rise, right? What was working yesterday may not work tomorrow. So we're getting more and more impatient as a species, and being able to remove that friction or risk losing all your customers, right? This is the strategy we must have. And what are some of the technologies? A couple of those technologies that are going to affect that are frictionless payment and wayfinding. So if you look at the radar here on the slide, you can see that frictionless payment is at 5.6. Again, this is on a level, a scoring system of 0 to 10. It's trending more toward the middle, obviously. So it's becoming more and more expected as shoppers are seeing these frictionless payment opportunities come forward. And this jump is actually almost a whole point from last quarter. So I think it was 4.7 last quarter, and now it's 5.6. Huge mover on the retail radar. And then wayfinding has improved as well, moving to 4.8. So there's a company called Honest Bee, and again, this is out of Singapore, I believe. And talk about a different type of frictionless payment. This is where it's a grocery store, it's a cafe. You fill the cart with all your things, and they use technology to be able to check you out. So you take your cart, you push it into this conveyor belt, you scan your app, and it takes your cart through, and you pick it up on the other side already bagged, and then you go on your merry way. You don't have to take your wallet out. It's as frictionless as you can get in a grocery store. Netpay is another one. And Netpay is a little bit different in the sense of you take all of your credit cards and all of your different payment systems and you assemble them on one app. And this app can work both for iOS and Android. It's obviously NFC for Android, but it's QR code for iOS. And again, this is from Singapore as well. And it just makes it a lot easier to choose which credit card or which account you want it to come out of.
They're great, Ed, I was just going to say, they're great international examples. The psychology of technology that Amazon Go really was able to start off and initiate, they allow people around the world to start thinking differently. And so then sometimes where the US is often the leader, it's good to get out there and see how other countries are adopting it more suited to their local markets.
It's kind of like the 4-minute mile, right? So nobody could achieve that 4-minute mile, but one person did, and then everybody flooded after that because they know they mentally had that block. But now, you're right, Amazon Go has shown that this can happen. Technology exists where you can have true frictionless payment. Just walk out technology, and lots of others are following.
And everyone tries to crack the nut, and that's what this one is. This is in San Francisco. This is a new store called Standard Cognition, and they're using artificial intelligence to make this whole frictionless payment. Just put stuff in the bag and walk out the door. And what's interesting about these folks is they're not doing any kind of biometrics, and it's an app right now, but later in the year they're going to be announcing that they have a version that's not in app. So we got to take a look and keep watching it, what these different frictionless payment firms are doing. And it really threads to one of the key things for holiday, which is making it easier. I shouldn't have to work to shop. And this has been the key theme from any research, certainly we've seen for decades now. It's just make it easier. But a lot of the industry didn't see how much we're going to pay that off. And every time somebody makes it easier, expectations rise, just like you said, Ed. And it becomes harder and harder to keep up. But one of the things that we really want to point out, it doesn't mean you need to do a Me Too strategy. It means you need to look at who your brand is, what your expectations are from your shopper, and what your unique friction points are, or how you can do something that just makes their store experience a little bit more delightful. And we've been watching what Walmart's doing here with a recent announcement with on-the-spot checkout. It's another flavor of making it easier. But they're basically looking at those really big, heavy bulk items that nobody really wants to wrestle into a cart and get out the door, and saying, hey, let's give Brandy this on-the-spot checkout so she can go ahead and make that happen in the aisle. But they have also added a new feature to their app so that you can pull up the store map and find your items store by store wherever they are. And we saw Target do this first. We were just so impressed when Target did this with their app last year, Ed. Yeah, but now that a couple of the big ones are doing it, people are expecting those planograms to be right. And they want to find stuff. They don't want to have to go looking for it.
Let's face it. I mean, there's really two types of retailers, right? Those that you want to go to and those you have to go to, right? For Walmart, unfortunately, you have to go to Walmart. It's not because you want to go to Walmart. And in that instance, it's like the airport, right? If I'm shopping for anything at the airport, I don't expect a great experience because I'm a captive audience. They don't have to be good. They're going to be expensive. The associates could be surly. I don't have, I have to do it. It's not that I want to do it. So unfortunately, Walmart's kind of in that mode. So how can they just relieve as much friction as possible to make it as painless as possible, even if you don't delight me with awesome experiences inside the store, which I think they're trying to start to do. But even if they're not kind of delighting me, at least make it less painless.
Yeah, dial down the pain a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, Ed and Laura. I think frictionless payments, Amazon cops a lot of flack for affecting retail sales, but kudos to them for understanding in the physical environment what the customer experience really needed to be around payments. And so Zippin, which is, I think, our next slide here, these guys, the founders of Zippin, were ex-Amazon guys, and they decided to venture out and start their own payment system platform. They're one of many, I guess, that are starting up now around the world. These guys are San Francisco based. And what's different about them is they've set up their own store. So a lot of technologies use overhead cameras to watch what's picked up and what's purchased and then charge you. These guys have added weight scales as an extra checkpoint. So generally, I guess the way it works is you would walk into the store and the cameras pick you up walking in. They follow you to a shelf or a fridge and watch you pick something up, watch you put something back. The scales and the cameras together work as they watch you walk out of the store, and then you're charged for whatever you walked out with. So it's really exciting, and there's a lot of these sort of technologies coming about. Zippin is one of the better ones.
And their claim to fame is they beat Amazon Go to San Francisco.
That's correct. And I should say they're the only genuine competitor to Amazon Go in this retail frictionless only or frictionless payment method anywhere in the world, really. They're the first to copy the method and compete.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be watching that category.
Yeah, we are. We absolutely will. So let's look at the second trend. So make my visit worth the drive. I mean, just think about what you can do at home these days. You can order a car at home. You can do anything you want at home on your couch, even through Apple TV, through Roku. You can do anything you want, get virtually anything you want delivered really anytime you want for probably a pretty good price. So to get somebody off the couch, to get the kids into the store, to get them into the car, to fight traffic, to find a parking spot, to go in and fight through the crowds to get into the store. That's a lot to ask for somebody. So how do you build an experience worthy of having somebody have that huge lift rather than getting something at home? It's a huge deal. There's all this real estate, lots of real estate, especially in the US. How do we take advantage of that? That is one of our compelling differentiators as brick and mortars, is we can use this space, the spatial area around the shopper to really light them up. And there's technologies that can help do that.
We want people to look forward to it, to be one of those handfuls of people it's like, I can't wait to go.
Yeah, so people talk about millennials and even Generation Z a lot, right? So we said that's great, but they alone are not changing the shopping experience. We gave a name to these guys called ACEs, and it's these addictively connected experience seekers, ACES. And really, it's everybody's addicted to their mobile device and all the technologies and all the conveniences that tech brings, which is great. But then when it comes down to it, at the core of our brain, we love experiences. We love stories. We love touching things. We love trying things on.
Smells.
The whole sensory
Colors.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So how do we use technology to amplify these really good, compelling experiences? Shoppers' innate desire for sensory experiences, that's what it's driven by. The strategy is make people want to come to your store because they no longer have to come to your store. Some of the technologies that enable that: virtual reality, touch and gesture, mobile interface. And mobile interface is just a fancy name for apps, but there's also some technologies that don't rely on you having to download an app as a shopper. It actually can go through the browser. So that's what a mobile interface is. And then personalization. So if you look on the radar, virtual reality, again, on the outer skirts of that radar, it's 1.5. It is moving closer to the center, but right now it is an outlier. It is for innovators only. Very few retailers are leveraging virtual reality. Mobile interface is continuing to gain steam. It's up to 5.1 on a scale of 0 to 10. Again, hurtling toward that middle of that radar where it's more mainstream adopted. Personalization took a big jump to 3.7 this quarter, which is, we're seeing more and more opportunities for real personalization. And then touch and gesture obviously is is more and more used in retail. So again, Walmart, we talk about Walmart, we talk about Amazon a lot because they're out there doing stuff. And
this
they're,
past quarter particularly.
Yeah, they're experimenting, they're acquiring. So, you know, this is not a consumer-facing technology yet. It is virtual reality for employee training, but it's a great opportunity to have a new associate at Walmart kind of immerse themselves into some of these, I don't know, maybe sketchy or unusual situations. Like Black Friday, what does it look like when the crowd's coming at you? You know, and spills, and how do you handle a confrontation with a customer? This is a great training piece for Walmart employees.
And we don't talk about this associate thing when it comes to in-store experience enough. And we have for years, we have sort of a love term we call ERM, which is Employee Relationship Management. And Ed is the first person to say this to me. It's just amazing how we spend all this money driving people into our brick and mortar, and you put it in the hands of a minimum wage associate. And some people have really made that work, but others, it's still it's a challenge, to the point that I even wrote an article about the caring crisis. So often these technologies can be very powerful training tools, but also incentive tools and empowerment tools. And there's a whole another topic about how important it is for you to have a strategy for how you're using these things to ramp up your training, incentivization, and basically acknowledgement of great associates.
I think also, Ed and Laura, it's exciting to see, I hope, the end of technology for technology's sake. And we're starting to see retailers that are not just trying to use technology as some sort of bell and whistle, but they're starting to see what will work and what won't, what may be more an internal focus versus something that someone may, you know, put on their social media. So they're getting much more defined and using it in a much more exciting way. I think it's really exciting for retailers.
Yeah, retailers historically have been reticent to be first mover.
Absolutely.
Right? But there are these especially pure plays like Warby Parker and Amazon and all those that are opening these brick and mortars and kind of showing old retail how it's done. Mm-hmm. There's more and more of those experiments that are happening, and more of those results that are being published. So there's now kind of a rising tide of all boats with retail. So we're starting to really see some retailers who maybe weren't all that ready to move now being more ready to move because others are doing it. They're going to feel left behind because a lot of competitors are really experimenting, really kind of out there right now. So they feel a need to keep up with the Joneses. DSW, one of our favorite brands. This is one of their flagship stores in Las Vegas. And what's Las Vegas known for?
Gaming.
Yay, gaming.
Las Vegas is known for a lot of things, actually.
Yeah, some other things too, right? So yeah, Las Vegas. This is a great experience. The whole store is kind of an extravaganza, but this particular view is a shoe vending machine. So you can use your mobile device or this tablet to kind of go through and select different shoes that you want to try on, or maybe be matched with a shoe that's going to fit your personality, and then the shoe is kind of taken down this conveyor belt, and it's a gamified way to try on shoes. And again, kudos to DSW for trying some things like this. Maybe that won't have an immediate ROI, but are getting press from it. They're experimenting. They're going to get some real human behavior cues from this.
Yeah, this is what we would classify as a unique experience signature.
Mm-hmm.
People who really know their brand and they're trying to do something unique for a certain purpose. It could be to fix something. It could be just to make people smile. It could be to kind of give the category a whole new potential.
Yeah, love
but
it.
They're great opportunities.
Love it.
Ed, I've got a question for you without notice on this one. This sort of gamification technique that retailers are using, is that more targeted towards the millennials? Is there a certain age group that they're specifically going after with that?
It's a good question. I wouldn't say it's only millennials. I mean, no, it really is everybody. Gamification, when it comes down to it, it's more along the lines of human behavior principles than it is, say, video games. It's more along the lines of surprise and delight, of intermittent variable reward. It's some of those concepts that, you know, it's the reason people pull that slot machine in Vegas. And if you notice, that they're not millennials that are sitting at those slot machines, right? So it really transcends generations.
Fear of missing out too. Ed talks about that a lot. And even like online people like Guilt, and I know Burberry this past week announced that they're going to be doing some flash sales with product that's only available online. We're starting to get trained for these things, but we don't expect them to only happen in one channel. So
yeah.
Yep.
So Oyo is a brand that is very successful in India. They're an accommodation brand, and they're starting to get very successful in China. And they've turned selling rooms into a boom. You would have thought with Airbnb and the major hotel chains kind of targeting the premium market, the middle market, and the lower end of the market, that there wasn't much more room for a new entrant. Well, Oyo and its founder basically decided that there was a middle market that wasn't being attended to well enough. And they used some neighborhood hotels and properties, and they came up with a standardization procedure that involves a team of people moving in to help physically improve the property within 14 days. So minor I guess, touches that improve the look and the feel of the property. And then there's a standardized set of toiletries and housekeeping materials, and the towels are all the same. And I happen to have stayed in one of these, and they're really good. I mean, recently I was also in an Airbnb, and there wasn't some washing machine powder, and there were things missing, which was different to the last experience I had in an Airbnb. Oyo's kind of bring that standardization to things of that middle market, and it's this discussion of the end of the middle. So I think people are going to expect more for less, and that's what this brand delivers. And they've been really successful. They've received $450 million in funding from some of the biggest end of town, including Sequoia Capital.
It's a big point, because you may wonder why we brought a hospitality brand example in, but hospitality is hurtling into being a key influencer in retail. And PwC came out, we talk about retailer 2020. We've talked about it for years, the end of the middle, your high price, high experience, your low price, low experience. And we look at retail from a very wide angle view of the world. And when culturally, you can start to get a very low price hotel that has a very good experience, that's both human but also technology infused. Again, expectations rise elsewhere.
Yeah, there's always this connotation of, well, if it's a premium experience or a premium product, I'm going to expect a premium experience. If it's a cheap product, I'm going to expect not a great customer experience. We're here to tell you that's changing. That's changing. If you think about Southwest Airlines, if you think about Chick-fil-A, those are affordable products. These are not luxury products, but the experience you get is heightening every day. So it's important for the TJ Maxxes of the world and the Rosses of the world who are enjoying a good time right now, because they're taking advantage of the treasure hunt mentality of the shopper's brain, which is great, but it's really at the expense of the customer experience. There's long lines, there's cameras that are telling you they're watching you as far as shoplifting goes. So it's really important for some of the lower price brands to start thinking about, how do I enhance this experience? Because Oyo is a great example of really thinking through the entire customer journey and all the touch points that go into it and keeping it super affordable. And this is going to rise expectations for everybody. It's going to get everybody addicted to a lower price and these more luxurious type experiences.
And also the localization and personalization. So in India, they have massive call centers and they have a very good website, because that's how the consumer books rooms in that country. When they set up in China, they looked at the market and they decided that you would be able to book a room through WeChat. And we all know how big WeChat is in China. So they're using technology to localize to each market. And as you say, Ed, once you can book a hotel room on your chat app, your expectations rise every time you deal with a brand.
Yep. And they'll take those expectations from one segment in their life and apply them to every other segment.
Yeah.
Hello, healthcare.
So then we've got trend number 3, only show products for me. And again, this is kind of brought on by exhaustion. There's so many products and so many different channels to see so many different things. How do we cull and curate things that are only for you and your interest? And the strategy here is to eliminate the unimportant. And there are technologies that can help do this for them, like mobile interface, personalization, and data tracking. So if you look at mobile interface at 5.1, personalization at 3.7, data tracking at 5.7, again, all these things are improving and getting more toward the middle this quarter. Face Note. This is an interesting technology. Had a really interesting chat with the founder a few days ago, and this, we've had this in the conversation for years. Minority Report, right? It recognizes who you are and gives you specials, right? But they've refined it and really created a system based on human behavior and shopper behavior. If you think about millennials, the selfie generation, if you offer them something in return for taking a selfie, they'll take advantage of it. They often think that their data, millennials specifically, can be used as commerce. And this is a great example of being able to encourage somebody to take a selfie for, say, 20% off their first purchase. And then every time they come back, the cameras recognize their face. And then on the sales associate's device, as you see on the right side of the slide, it says who it is, when their last visit was, some notes about their past purchases, making it more customized and saying, all right, we know this person likes these type of products and should probably expect these types of things next.
Permission-based too.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
It's completely opt-in. Obviously, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
You're not going to take pictures of somebody that doesn't opt into something like
Unless
this.
you don't like them.
So store DNA, I mean, this is really about data tracking and personalization, but applying the online analytics and lens to the brick and mortar. And so it follows the customer through the retail store, and it tries to, I guess, get as much data as possible about their visit, and how they interact with products, with fixtures, with displays. And it's being rolled out in a number of stores. It's live at Nike Town in London, Foot Locker, Audi, Soda Drill. There's a number of different retailers that are trialing this technology because they understand that their online businesses have been able to grow so much through this sheer amount of data that this can only benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, we talked to the owner of the founder of this company, and it was all about how do we replicate Google Analytics inside the store, and it's taking some of that language, right? So they have bounce rate in store now, right?
Beautiful.
So that means somebody came in and then 10 seconds later or less, they left, right? It's taking some of the vernacular that we've grown so used to in e-commerce and applying it in the physical space.
Our favorite one being optimization. Optimize that space. And this next one is really exciting news for those of us in digital signage on the Digital Signage Federation board. NEC the week before last announced a new appliance, which basically is able to do, we'll put it in layman's terms. When you go online, you go to a website and it knows who you are and it serves up content on what you might like based on your past history. It's getting us closer to that with digital signage. So it's able to see who's standing in front of it, a male or a female, approximate age range, so that the content can auto-populate based on what they're likely to like. And being an advertising agency veteran as myself, often in this industry, I've told people, when we have content on things like digital screens and digital signs, they're an ad only until they're useful and valuable, and then they're a gift. And this is where we need to start thinking about how we can use some of these emerging tools to service people with welcome messages. Yeah, do we benefit from them? Sure. But we're only going to benefit if they care about it. And this is another one, so exciting. For years, we've been talking about how do we better amplify social behaviors and social desires in the store. And this is a group called the Cartman Shop. They're in Chelsea, as in UK. And during one of the design weeks, they set up their store so that these pins are actually armed with RFID. And when you walk in, you can just tap your phone to one of the pins and up pops up mood boards and product information, all the stuff that you'd love to see already online. But in addition, you can do the same thing to add it to a wish list. Years ago, I wrote a white paper on NFC and the power it had to potentially transform how we shop in stores. And dang it, Apple, if you just unlock it from Apple Pay, we're going to be able to unleash that. If anybody wants that white paper, it's still relevant. But NFC is really coming. And all we need is for both Android and the Apple ecosystem to unlock it, and we really could take advantage of it. And another one that we've been watching with big interest this quarter, of course, is the Amazon 4-star store. Another thing we've been saying till we're blue in the face is, my goodness, people want to be able to see, how is this product I'm holding in my hand the physical store rating? And yeah, we understand we're retail people. It starts a bit of a religious debate when you've got a CPG that says, no, that's my shelf. I want to put my feature benefits on it. But the point is, people are going to pick up their phone and look anyway. And Amazon started the store in New York. There's a new one coming, I think, in Denver, Ed, and another one coming in California. And there's two things interesting about it. First of all, everything in there is 4-star rated above. Second, everything is tagged with electronic shelf label. That, whoop, here comes ESL in our world, because what it does is ensures that product price is always going to be the lowest out there. Again, here comes a new expectation. But back to some of the earlier conversation, do you want to have to play in being the lowest price? Probably not. But if you're not the lowest price, you better have a better experience, so people aren't focused on that.
So Sanjay, obviously we know in America how influential Amazon is, and we know in Asia that Alibaba is taking over Asia, right? Because of they're transforming brick and mortar as well with technology. Tell us about Australia and Amazon's influence in Australia. Is it as pervasive there? You've spent obviously time in both places. Is it as pervasive there? Is it a brand that's on the tip of everybody's tongue as it is here in America?
There's a lot of excitement around Amazon in Australia. It only entered the Australian market about 18 months ago. eBay is the incumbent online, I guess, aggregator for those sort of products here. And Australia is one of eBay's largest markets. So Amazon has come in, and they had some early challenges. I mean, Australia is a big country with a small population, and it's expensive to get stuff around the country. So they just introduced Prime a matter of a few months ago, and so they're tinkering with the model, and I think they will get it right. Obviously, there are some local, I guess, differences in culture and the way we shop, but it's a good point, Ed. I think around the world, what Amazon has been good at is looking at what is particular to that environment and what is going to work. I mean, we know that they bought Flipkart, or they partnered with Flipkart in India, and looking at this store, it's better looking than a lot of brick and mortar stores out there. So to your point, Laura, price is not the only thing that they want to count. And then I guess in the back of your mind, it's Amazon. It's going to be the cheapest. Is probably the way that people walk into the store, but very well merchandised, very well lit. The merchandising is really good. So it's a good looking store, Amazon or not.
Merchandising stories. They're merchandising the way we buy online through stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is an interesting stat we found from the Harvard Business Review of June this year. Online shoppers make larger purchases than they do at brick and mortar stores, but they spend 64% more when they visited a physical store first. So even when we talk about online and e-commerce, and it's made up about 12% now of the entire pie, when you combine the two, it really amplifies results for clients. So this is the Nike store at Melrose, and it's one of their kind of new up-and-coming future stores. And it really is based on data tracking, not necessarily of individuals, but of the area, right? So it will data track of all those things that are sold in the neighborhood, so that if you see somebody down the street keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, oh, I love those shoes, where did you get them? It takes the data and makes it local, so that this store is going to have some things on display that are maybe not on display in a different store. There's curbside pickup, there's mobile integration, you can pick up your gear in a locker. So it's kind of an experiment when it comes to Nike, but it's really an interesting place that we're looking toward the future. This is the Good Housekeeping Lab in, I believe it's Minneapolis. And again, they partner with who else? Amazon, to be able to create this, it's almost like an anthropology type experience where you've got these little house vignettes where it's more lifestyle driven, but obviously there's There's things for sale in here. There's a little smile code, which is kind of their equivalent to a QR code. So you open the Amazon app and you snap the smile code and it brings it up and you can buy it right there. So again, there's all kinds of ways that people are immersing mobile interface inside the store now these days. So the fourth and final trend is, listen, I want human interaction, right? But this cannot be technology taking the place of humans. We say it every time. It can't be taking the place. You've got to use technology to amplify what it is to
make it feel more human.
Yes. So again, driven by frustration, this is a great way to, technology can enable a knowledgeable, empathetic workforce using virtual reality, mobile, personalization, frictionless payments. So today, 64% of consumers and 59% of all consumers, 64% of US, feel companies have lost touch with the human element of customer experience. 71% would rather interact with a human than a chatbot or some other automated process. Again, this is just a stop sign. It's a watch out. And we always want to make sure that we say this in all the reports and all the webinars, because we cannot focus on the technology. We've got to focus on human. And if there's an analog or a human solution to something, we should look at that first.
So 51% of retailers are now empowering their store associates to use their smartphones or tablets, but only 25% of them have real-time inventory information. That's one of the issues I think often in retail. Traditionally, it's been known for having this disconnect between head office and there's those employees that are at the coalface. If they have this sort of information at their fingertips, it's much easier to do your job, and it's much easier to provide that sort of customer experience that people are expecting these days. Beta is a store that a lot of us know, and they use this sort of technology. So you're allowed to use your smartphone if you're an associate there and you're working there, and they use it for training. They use it for communicating between staff members. They're big fans of Slack at Beta, and Slack is something that a lot of us use in our different work environments. So they try and connect people through this technology that ultimately is about a person. To your point, Ed, it's ultimately technology being able to free up people to deal with other people, and that's what they're really about, and they're working towards doing that.
That's a good line. And Uniqlo took it on in their app. They basically said, this whole you might like this is a little mechanical. How do we make this feel human? So when someone's walking in the aisles, it bubbles up. See, these pants is going to be great for the club and probably be a 9.5 for the workout. And you might like this to go with it. And by the way, here's your horoscope. Again, it's just the strategy and how they execute it to make it feel more warm, to make it feel more connected. And you gotta love Dirty Lemon for a name.
That's awesome.
I mean, come on, it sounds like a cocktail. It's great, but it's actually a juice, and they're really blowing it up in New York. Where, get this, you pay by text. They're in a Tribeca neighborhood right now, and they are in the business of delivering cases of this expensive juice that's typically going to women to their homes. But you can walk into one of their stores, pick up a juice, and just text and say, "Hey, I got it," and they trust you. That's a whole new world order. But guess what? They're growing, and they're going to be adding VIP lounges, and they're taking their $4 million in digital marketing and putting it into the store because they found through the research that these women are tired of getting hit up, shotgun blast ads to buy something, and they want to invest it in providing what they really want, which is unique store experiences.
I'll bet there's some peer pressure to eliminate shoplifting too.
Oh, yeah.
Who would want to try to, take something when somebody else is standing there?
You feel like a heel.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is interesting. We can't talk about who this is, but this is a group called Virtual Cartman or APT? APT. And what you're seeing here is a 360 view of flagship store of basically an apparel store, where you can shop it from sitting right, just like we are. Hit one of the little pluses and you can virtually shop it. So this may seem like it's unwieldy, but think about this for pop-up shops. Think about this for flash sales. Think about how this you can use creatively for holiday. This is really cool because you're literally bringing the store into someone's home.
Yeah. So there's a synopsis, the four trends for this holiday, and obviously this is really not just holiday, it's moving forward, really, in any retail experience. Giving you my money should be easy. Make my visit worth the drive. Only show products for me, and I still want human contact. So if you remember anything, remember those 4 things from this experience. So all to say, the retail radar report is coming out next week. So if you haven't already done so, go to highstreetx.com/radar, and you'll be able to download Q3's radar report right now. Q4 is coming out early next week. So if you sign up and you download Q3, you'll automatically be sent a link to download Q4 when it's available early next week.
Yep.
And I see a typo, and it's all my fault. In fact, it's my email fault. Which is crazy. So it's highstreetx.com, not highstreet.com. But thank you for viewing. Love the idea of you downloading the radar. Give us some feedback. Let us know if if you liked it, if you want to see some changes for the next webinar.
And send us any questions or feedback on something new you've seen that we haven't touched on you want us to cover in a future one.
Yeah. Thanks, Sanjay.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.